the drama that unfolded in the space of 1 week surrounding a 19-year-old and the West Tigers Football Club. Michael Chemis, I know you were there today to see Lockie run out for the West Magpies. What did you learn? How did he react to the situation? So too the crowd that was there.
Yeah, look, to be honest with you, you wouldn't have known if there was any drama throughout the week. The crowd, they were supportive of Lockie Galvin. Lockie Galvin ran out with a smile on his face, but it's quite a different story to what's unfolded over the last week, as we've just seen. To be honest with you, you wouldn't have known. There were obviously some cameras out there and some journalists wanted to speak to Lockie Galvin, which didn't happen. The West Tigers decided to keep him away from media, which you can understand, given the week that he's had. But
it's a long way from Combank Stadium.
It is, and then on the events that unfolded sort of adds some drama to the week that's about to unfold as well. What does Benji Marshall do next week? The Tigers didn't disgrace themselves today. They didn't get the result, though, against the Eels. And now the big question tomorrow, 4 o'clock, does Lockie Galvin get named in the NRL team? Does he get named in New South Wales Cup? And what does the management do in the background? Do they keep agitating for a release? Well, they haven't asked for a release, but we know where it's going.
What about the relationship with the players? That's my biggest concern. I mean, obviously, not everyone likes the coach and the managers have issues, but if you lost your mates, if you've lost the playing group, that's an issue. Surely that can't be a situation you can walk back into.
Yeah, the situation has become untenable. As we saw last week with the players, they just don't trust him anymore, right? And I'm not saying it from a point of view where the manager should be rewarded for what he's done, because the manager's done a disservice to Lockie Galvin over the last week. That kid's not going to recover from the reputational damage he's had, right? Whether it's in the game from fans, there are clubs out there who may have been interested in Lockie Galvin who are now seeing red flags with what's unfolding in the background. He's done the kid a disservice. But at what point do you see it, say as a club, this is not good for us to have this lingering around for another 12 to 18 months and just cut the cord and say, see you later, because we know where this is going. It's ugly as it is. Now there's a legal battle flowing on because there's a belief that he may have been bullied by the club and what's happened over the last 7 or 8 days. So where does it end? It's only going to get ugly. I can tell you now, there's some other things in the background that is brewing. It is going to get really ugly. The Tigers, I completely respect. They don't want to be walked all over in this situation. They want to show that they're united. They're not going to let this thing happen to their club, and they're going to be pretty strong on that. But at what point is it to the detriment of the club? And that's what's going to happen over the next few days, those conversations, because the way it's been handled by everyone involved, it's been a disaster.
Cameron, I want to pose to you the same question that I posed to you last week when this was all breaking, unfolding about Lockie Galvin and how he felt about the club, the coach, etc. Having seen what's unfolded over the last 7 days, what would you be doing if you were amongst that playing group?
Well, look, I'd be disappointed that, one of my teammates has decided that he doesn't see his future at that club. There's no doubt about that. And I stand by what I said last week about, if there's someone that didn't want to be at my club, then I think the best thing to do is to move on. I want people surrounding, our environment, our training environment, that want to be there and want to make a difference. Now, when Lockie came out, he said, I love the fans, I love this playing group, I love the club. I just won't be here in 18 months. I'm committed to this club for the rest of the term of my contract. But, I don't know what's going on at that footy club. Clearly, from the outside in, it doesn't look great. The social media posts from Jerome Luai, Sunia Taruva as well. I don't get that. That's something that it really confused me as leaders of the club. When I was at that Melbourne Storm footy club, and I think Freddie spoke about it in one of his shows, I think it brings unwanted attention to your footy team and your playing group, and it puts a lot of pressure on. There's no doubt that, they went out there and tried their best today, the West Tigers, but there's no doubt the spotlight was on them. It's unfortunate that the spotlight has been put on this football club the way it has, but they've all had some small hand in doing so. Now, what happens from here, I'm not too sure. I disagree with Michael that, for what's happened over the last, week with Lockie Galvin, that, clubs will be a little bit off-put by that. Parramatta, the head coach of Parramatta, Jason Rolls, he's come out and said, as soon as he's available, I'd love to chat to him. Gus last week spoke about, he's the best young talent I've seen in my entire life. You can't tell me that Gus wouldn't be interested in sitting down with Lachlan and his family and talking about maybe the possibility of joining the Bulldogs. So there's two very big clubs in our competition, in Sydney, just down the road, that would love to have Lockie Galvin services.
I think the important thing that Smithy raised there was that when all this started, Lachlan Galvin said he's committed to the club for the next 18 months. It wasn't until the club come out and release that press statement, then obviously the senior players come and put that stuff on social media, that you know what hit the fan. So how much has he done wrong here as a kid?
Yeah, well, I'll ask you. Cam's probably not aware of the last 20 or so minutes that Gus has come out and spoken to Danny Widler about where the Bulldogs sit with Lockie Galvin. And we'll ask Gus the question as to why you've said that you won't pursue Lockie Galvin. Is it purely because it doesn't work with you right now? Or is there more to this situation? Are you at all off put by what's happened over the past week? Because you've spoken glowingly of Lockie Galvin over the past 18 months.
Yeah, I thought I answered this last week. We're already on a program, right? We're not thinking about Lachlan Galvin. We've never at any stage been involved in any discussion regarding Lachlan Galvin, and we're not going to get into a discussion about Lachlan Galvin. He's not on our radar. We've got a different program going at the moment. That's not to say that, you know, in 5 or 6 years' time, when I think he'll be a really great player, that all clubs won't be interested in him at some time. But I think there are some real red flags around what's happened this week, which is, it's going to be hard for him to outlive and outplay, to be honest. I don't know how a 19-year-old man, young boy, is coping with this sort of attention and this sort of untenable situation that he finds himself in. It's terrible for the game. I feel really sorry for the West Tigers fans who have had to put up with years of poor results. They've finally got a really good crop of young players coming through. They've gone out into the marketplace, you know, and bought some quality players, and they've bitten the bullet on under contracts and removed them from the club. There is a real, you know, upswing in their performances this year, and I'm saying, well, they can make the 8. Some of their early season form has been very, very promising, and they're only going to get better. And then all of a sudden, kaboom! Look, no one saw this coming. Why did this happen? And I think right at the moment there is so much agenda-driven damage control, you know, deflection, blaming, finger-pointing going on, and, you know, everyone in the media trying to come up with a scoop, and everyone in Tigers trying to protect themselves, and everyone with the Galvin clan trying to look after themselves, that it's just untenable for everyone.
Gus, do you feel like Benji Marshall could end up being a casualty in amongst all this?
I don't know where it'll end. I really don't know where it'll end. I do know there are far bigger stories being touted behind the scenes, far bigger stories. And I agree with Michael. If it's not resolved amicably, if they can't mediate this to walk away from it, the both of them, and I said last week, I think the West Tigers and the Galvin clan have got to walk away from this and put some distance between this week and when this decision is made down the track. But unless they can mediate this in the short term straight away, it will get ugly. There is no risk in the world it's going to get ugly. Someone is going to spill the beans.
Michael, if Benji goes to the playing group tomorrow, if he goes to the leaders, what would they say if Benji says, I want him in the team this week?
Yeah, it'll be an interesting conversation, Cam, because the issue isn't the fact that he's leaving. It's the fact that the things that have come out in the background, some of the things that were brought up by Isaac Moses. I understand that you're in a difficult situation. You're managed by Isaac throughout your career. But the way that all played out with Isaac and the list of grievances that he went to, and I imagine the senior players have been made aware of this and starting to wonder if they can trust what Lockie Galvin is going back and telling his manager. Because some of those, they believe, the senior players, are designed to make Benji the scapegoat to execute the release that he seeks. Now, he hasn't formally asked for a release, but the situation that's unfolded, unfortunately, the Tigers players, through defending Benji Marshall, have opened the door and given Isaac exactly what he needs to get Lockie out of the club, which is now in the form of a legal letter to execute and say that they've been bullied. Now, I'm not saying Lockie Galvin hasn't been or has been, but it was clear from the moment this happened. And I know you said, Gus said that it was, you know, where's this come from? This has been brewing away in the background for some time. For the last 6 to 8 weeks, tension about Lockie Galvin with Benji, with Jerome. You know, where does he fit in? Is Jerome getting all the love? How does he feel about that? It's been going on for some time, which is why people were bemused as to why the Tigers made the offer when they did. Couldn't they have waited till maybe at the end of the year, try and repair that situation and maybe on the back of finals football? But the manager knew what he was doing. And I think when Shane Richardson set out the press release, basically having a crack at Lockie Galvin, the manager executed the situation, used the situation to execute an outcome which we all think is going to happen, which is Lockie Galvin will be released at some point because it's untenable. That's what he wanted.
The manager's explanation is that the club instigated this by wanting to make an offer, and he virtually said, don't waste your time. He said, I could string you out till November if I wanted. Get on with it because you might let a player go, you might miss out on a player that you could buy. Don't even make the offer. I don't even think the offer was made. I think the offer was made public as part of West Tigers, you know, explaining why he's going, or that we tried our best. But the manager just said to the club, don't bother making the offer. He's not staying at the end of his contract. That's what he said.
Well, Gus, you would have had conversations in the last few years. I know you're saying you're not going to go after him, but no doubt yourself, Cameron, the brains trust at the club, would have had conversations around, do we go down this path, right?
No, we didn't.
Not even a single conversation about Lockie
Not a
Galvin?
conversation. We weren't interested.
Do you think he's going to Parramatta? That was my next question. Do you think
I don't know
that
where he's
something's
going.
already tied up?
I don't know where he's
Because
going.
there's strong mail over the last couple of weeks, or last week since this all unfolded.
Publicly, we've only heard Parramatta declare they're interested.
Would you do that if you had something done in the background?
What's that?
With Lockie Galvin and Parramatta, do you think that their confidence in declaring their interest speaks to something?
I don't know
maybe
why Parramatta have done that. I don't work for Parramatta, mate.
Yeah.
I don't work for Parramatta. But I do know that Manly distanced themselves from it. St George distanced themselves from it.
Well, the both of them are managed by Isaac
We've
Moses.
distanced ourselves
Both
from it.
coaches are.
Yeah, we've distanced ourselves from it. So I don't know where he's going to end up.